check. 1, 2, 3. I just want to confess a few things. I realized there was a lot happening in previous presentation. So I'll not speak about Amazon. I'll also not speak about Flipkart. And also not speak about 3 I's. Yeah, we'll stick to the topic. Okay, just for me to understand, we're going to talk about DtoC and how to grow revenues. How many of you actually run a consumer company? And I know it's Bangalore, so a lot of people are technical. They'll ask technical questions. But just by a raise of hand, how many of you run direct-to-consumer companies? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Just keep it hand. Okay, quite a few, around 15, 20. Yeah. You have a consumer product which you sell directly to the consumer, either through a retail store or through a marketplace like what we talked about. I'll not talk about those names now. Okay, cool. So we are set. And I promise it's going to be an interesting session because I did a similar session in Chennai actually, and it was really interesting actually. So let me just take you through what we do actually. We track global innovation and its impact, how it's going to shape the industry actually. Largely, we work with quite a lot of Fortune 500 companies. But our realization has been, and there is a phrase I learned, there is a book called Small is Beautiful, actually. You must read it, especially when you are an SMB. I'm a founder. I've founded 2 companies. This is my 3rd company, actually. And you will realize today there is a greater opportunity. Flipkart will go and disrupt something else. Nykaa will grow and disrupt something else because there are a couple of things happening. And the reason for that is, for the first time in history, the consumer technology is way ahead of business technology. And that's the reason there is a need for Salesforce to go and acquire those companies. The same is happening with Microsoft. Same is happening with Walmart, actually. That's the reason, actually. And you are that company. The other thing what happened was, and I'll continue to add these dynamics as we go further, actually. I'll give you a very personal experience, actually. How many of you have done LASIK here? Looks like I'm the only one who's done LASIK, yeah? This was the technology meant for business. NASA created it for astronaut to go up and have a 6x6 vision. And then it became a consumer technology, right? For the first time in last 5 years, the consumer technology is way ahead of business technology. And the reason for that is very simple. I'll take a few examples, actually. We talked about consumer experience. I will not talk about those companies, but how many of you use Spotify, actually? Many, right? I use it because I'm also a musician. You listen to 3 songs, and what will happen? It'll start recommending you. And there is a reason for that, actually. Once you're hooked on, you can't go anywhere out of that, actually. It's not that those things were not available. They were available by other incumbent, actually. Somebody came and started working and created an experience that's far more pervasive, actually. And that's the paradigm shift we are talking about. Now the question is, if I, as a DtoC provider or as a DtoC company, have to provide a similar experience to the consumer, A, how would I do that? Second is, why should I do that? Okay? Let me give you an example. Why should I do that, actually? So we talked about banks, actually, right? And it's right. Personally, I haven't been to my bank for a while, but commercially, I talk to them every day because the consumer banking is way ahead of commercial banking. Commercial banking doesn't function. And that's the problem. So when you have a consumer product and you take it out in the market and you say, I'm going to sell it through my app or I'm going to list it somewhere else, get what I'm expecting. Is the app going to function like Spotify? Too bad. If it doesn't function, that's my expectation from you. And that's the reason you should listen for next 20 minutes. Okay. We're going to talk about a few acronyms. You just need to remember 2. Okay. One is called broad, actually. Why did we come out with this? For a very simple reason. Despite being in Bangalore, and we can talk about technology for a while, the challenge we saw when we spoke to founders, when we spoke to the CEO of large incumbent player, and that's what we work with. We specialize in financial services and CPG, and these are some of our large clients who work on that. The CEO said, whatever you do, whatever innovation you bring in, just help me understand how it's going to impact B, that's business strategy, R, how will it enhance revenues, O, how will it help me run operations efficiently, yeah? And then I have existing asset, how you can make it better. And finally, everyone, no business today is a physical business, actually. It's a digital business, so data and digital, actually, that was needed, actually. I'm going to share an equation with you, and I'm going to ensure that you take it home, actually. This equation was created by an Indian professor, and he wrote a book on innovation, actually, around 6 or 7 years back. And he spoke about two things. And just write it down. N is equal to 1, and R is equal to G. What does it mean? N stands for your consumer. And the reason he said N is equal to 1, because every consumer is unique and expecting you to treat him or her uniquely. That's what Spotify did, actually. Okay, and I say that because I'm trained in Hindustani classical. That's one genre I listen to. I like Sufi music. That's one genre I listen to. My daughter introduced me to jazz. That's another genre I listen to. I grew up listening, I'm a guitarist. I also grew up listening to retro rock. And then in between, I listen to a lot of folks because I'm from a village in Uttarakhand that's closer to Rishikesh. And we have a lot of folk music, actually. Look at the diversity. Every time Spotify recommends a list to me, it's in line with what I would like to listen. If I happen to buy your product, it's important that you must know me. And I want a similar experience, what I'm experiencing. That's the reason I continue to say that. For the first time, consumer technology is ahead. So N is equal to 1. Every consumer of yours is unique. Every website you go and shop, they get this. That's what they are trying to recommend. What does R equal to G means? R equal to G, exactly what is happening in this room, actually. Resources are global. So don't expect that you're going to build your CRM. There are better CRM. Please go buy and integrate. Don't expect that you will learn how to do hyper-personalization. Please pick it up and integrate. And the beauty is, all of these are available to you at a fraction of the cost because nobody wants you to build this. So they're saying that it's an operational cost. Please plug it, start using it, and please pay me by the end of the month. So you don't need to do any kind of a capex cost onto that. So I explained about broad. Let's focus on revenue enhancement. Yeah. These are the things, and by the way, whatever you experience, a large company with 4 billion, 30,000 crore turnover, 40,000 crore turnover in India is asking us same question. Guess why? They are vying for the attention of same consumer in a same way you are trying to vie for. Yeah? We're going to especially focus on DtoC and understand how does it work, actually. And why DtoC, why hyper-personalization, why N equal to 1 is imperative for all business who are trying to reach out to the consumer. Let me give you a sense. Okay, we talked about chatbot, we talked about AI, we talked about a lot of things. How many of you know, I'll show of hand, I know. How many of you know generative AI? Few of you. Yeah? How many of you know ChatGPT? A lot of you. Yeah? If you pick up any kid who's writing their dissertation, I can bet, because my kids do that, they are using generative AI to create their dissertation. Yeah? I can also bet that if you type DtoC and what is the best way, to implement DtoC, and can you create 7-slide presentation for me? In 10 minutes, he'll do that and hand it over to you, actually. And the more specific question you ask, he'll do that. Guess what? If you're a musician and you want to ensure that what's the most popular music theme I need to pick up in Bangalore and what are the beats I need to do that, he'll also do that. That's what you're dealing with. And the reason I share all these things with you is that for the first time, consumers are experiencing something business is struggling, genuinely struggling. I struggle with my bank from a commercial point of view, not from a retail banking point of view. It's not their fault. It's a compliance issue, and that's what they're struggling with, actually. These are just the component of your DtoC, actually. So chatbots are today called conversational AI. Why they are conversational AI? Because the engine understands what questions typically you're going to ask and will have remedy within 2 clicks. Why click became important? Because we all became so used to instant gratification that somebody patented one-click payment for a long time. Because the moment you take a decision, click, you want to buy that. Yeah, these are all backed by things. Content, personalization, and we'll focus more on DtoC personalization and how to do revenue enhancement. Why have I written all these logos here? We track global innovation, all the startup which makes it happen, actually. These are the companies available to you, and they're on your backyard, actually. 60% of them will be in Bangalore. Ask them, plug them, and they'll make it ready for you by the evening. You talk to them in the morning, by the evening, this is all will be ready, actually. Okay? And why I say that? Because, again, there are a lot of things I learned when I was running Gartner in India. And one of the things I learned was when you go to a conference like this, the first thing happens is a death by PowerPoint, actually. And I'm sorry, I'm putting a PowerPoint here, actually. The second thing happens is when you go home and come to office next day, you're wondering, what do I do? Okay, so we'll sort out those things also, actually, here. Okay? Okay. It's important to know your consumer, actually. Why? Because that's what I expect, actually. I'll give you a very interesting example, actually. And I did a show of hand in Chennai for that also. And there is a reason for that. I've got 2 daughters, 22 and 20 years old. Okay? Let me just tell you how they think. But before that, I'll just do a show of hand. For all the consumer product people who raise their hand, how many of you are here who are age 22? Just show of hand. None. 25? None. Let me tell you what they are asking. At my house, I have stopped using plastic toothbrush. They forced me to move to bamboo toothbrush. My older daughter, very clearly, stopped using sanitary napkin. She uses menstrual cup. Both my kids look at any brand and say, are they sustainable? I know somebody was talking about sustainability here. And are they cruelty-free? And guess what? You're learning something about your consumer here, and none of them are here. That's the reason. Do I know the persona of my consumer? Where do they live? Where do they spend their time? What are they talking? And by the way, too cool, kudos to Flipkart, kudos to Amazon and all that. A lot of the shopping I began to realize was happening on normal social media. There is unknown person who's there and claiming that I build it at home, cruelty-free, this, and I'm going to have a sale for 2 hours. Would you like to buy? And it's happening. And the entire website was created within that social media. People are buying it, they trust, and there is a certification around it. That's your consumer. If you don't understand them, there is a problem. And don't worry, I'll help you out in the end how to work with them. I'm not just going to tell you that this is needed and then tomorrow morning you say, what do I do? We'll figure it out, we'll bring it home. What's the demography? How many of them with age 50 plus? How many of them are 22? How many of them are 25? Because we think differently, we behave differently. Guess what? There is a company where you put an ad, it will turn that ad into 2 lakh different ad and will put the color, face, message based on a demography, actually. Time of the day. Which region? Karnataka is different, West Bengal is different, Mumbai is different. Important to understand what goes behind this, actually. And these are all the things happening when you are using a consumer app, actually. But that's what they expect from you when you sell your product, actually. And that's what you're dealing with. Also, please understand, when you reach out to them, do you understand what their brand affinity is? What do they like? Are you barking on a wrong tree if you don't understand? And it's incumbent on you to understand all these things, actually, and we'll figure it out how to do that. What are their interests? How will you like to buy? Somebody talked about the multi-channel, in-app, email, social media, live chat, QR code, out of office, and then how do I personalize it? Where do I activate? What time of the day I activate? What is it I need to do, actually? Do I understand them, actually? Yeah? And all of you, if you are overwhelmed, please be so. That's how consumers are expecting to buy your product. So, how do you build a consumer persona? Actually, I've divided into multiple things. Actually, take a time to read. I'm assuming everyone can see this. Yeah, there are a lot of information I've packed in, but the people on the backside can all the two screen. You are able to read what's written. Yeah, cheers. Thank you. Okay, geo behavior, travel, social economy, financial affluence, and if you are getting scared that all this information is available, it's available about you also. Any app you use, that information is being collected, anonymized, and given to people that you can target them. This information is available by zip code, by door number. I can tell you on level load on a particular building, what kind of profile of people they live, what kind of a unit link account they have, what kind of a car they own, how many kids they have, by the way, where they spend their time. I'll not tell you the names, but that building will have all the data, actually. That's what you're feeding in all the apps, actually. That's being consumed, personalized, given to you, good and bad. Yeah. If you're like me, who's not on social media, there are only two places you'll find me, LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm very different. But if you're like my kids, they're all over the place. And that's what they're expecting. And if you're not there, then it's a problem. Yeah? How do I create? We talked about phygital activation and all that. And how do I personalize my communication by time, by day, by color, by family? Whether it's Rajaji Nagar, Malleshwaram, JP Nagar 9, JP Nagar 12, which is somewhere in Electronic City, actually. Okay? So, if you're wondering, does this exist? Yes, it does. Okay? There are startups in India who has them. And I'll share it with you. Go reach out to them. If you can't, just let me know. I'll introduce, because I did that around 10 odd introductions in 2 days, actually. I was in Chennai doing same thing on behalf of SMB Connect, actually. So, on a physical data, for 92 crore Indians, yeah? No. This way. On a physical data, 92 crore, because that's the way I'm seeing here, actually, and it's just opposite. 92 crore Indians, their lifestyle, urban, lifestyle small, special healthcare, saving plan, retirement plan, unit link plan, health plan. Yeah? Laundry password, package, food, cosmetic, all this is available by door number. It's obviously anonymized data, and it's also compliance and all that. By virtual, where do you travel, what sports you like, what perfume you like, and all that. So anything you buy from those great apps and e-commerce and all that, both of them are good. But this is all being tracked, actually. And then they track who you are, and then they create a persona. And because they create a persona, then the activation gets easy. Can you do that? Yes, you can do that. And that's what I want to talk about. That's the way to do revenue enhancement. If you are not following this, there is everybody else who's reaching out to them, they are following that. And that's the reason. That's the reason a small company like yours becomes big and begin to challenge incumbents. And that's the reason there is a need for a Tableau to get acquired, actually. Because I'm sure Salesforce felt that there is a much better way to display the entire data, because it's all about decision making. Who cares what's there, which cloud and all that, actually. I just to know at instant of a second that what the data looks like, so that I can take those decisions, actually. That's the reason it's happening. Can you do that as a startup owner or a SMB or a micro SME? Yeah, you can do that, actually. And you can do it from tomorrow itself, actually. Let me just put it together how to do it, actually. So that's the front end part, actually, then the back end part. And there is a large CPG company which reached out to us and said, I have a problem, okay? It was a UK-based company, actually, and they told that, look, there is a lot of things happening, actually. We need to track how people are going, how people are doing, and then do the hourly calculation and all that. Today, everyone punches in and do that. And the other thing we need to look at it is that if and there was a back-end center in India. It says, look, if CFO is asking for a particular a data that needs to be given because there is a meeting and it gets assigned to somebody else. Then they look at how to collect the data. Then an agent works on it and all that. Can you automate all this and apply generative AI that a trigger happens here, it'll automatically pick it up and send the data in a format they would like to do it because every company has that. Yeah, that's possible. Can you do it? Yeah, you can do it actually. You can, without hiring anybody else, you can have your own virtual customer service agent who can respond to all these things actually. Only when you feel at some point of time it's not working, it'll automatically trigger and pick up an agent actually. All these are things that can be automated. Why am I saying that? Again, you don't need to buy any of these things from a capital point of view. All these things are available to as an operational cost. Now the curiosity comes in, what all is happening in generative AI actually, because this entire generative AI, this is the first time. So earlier AI was very simple. I'm a computer science engineer, where you wrote a logic. I have to come. I live in Jakkur. I just put it. I'll take left turn, right turn. I have to, like Silk Board, I have to cross Hebbal flyover, and then I'll eventually reach here. And you program it. It'll every time function like that. For the first time, you write a question, and that's the reason Google is actually worried about generative AI, and they quickly put together their version of that. You search and you'll get 20 links, and then you figure out what it is. And they say, don't worry, I'll give you the entire presentation. Don't worry, I'll create a song for you. Don't worry, I'll create a movie for you. Yeah, and this is entire thing. And again, these are all startup available at your doorstep actually, which can do these things for you actually. There is a call center suite, there is a voice bot, there is a CRM, there is personalized payment option. And by the way, the payment story of India is genuinely very great actually. So we also work with Startup India. They use our entire platform actually. So if you see Investor Connect there, where you can raise money and all that, the entire platform was, we white labeled and gave it to them actually. That's the platform we have actually. And when you look at all these things, like whether it's a video personalization, and I'll share some of the examples how it needs to run. These are all available to you as a generative AI actually. It functions as if there is a human being trying to answer and understand you actually. Are there flaws? Yeah, but it's getting, I mean, if I just tell you the entire journey of generative AI actually, ChatGPT, which is your Openl.ai, in 2015 odd actually, they were a small company. Even one of our large, IT services company gave them a grant actually to do that. When they launched it in somewhere in 2020, 21, the amount of code that has gone in and the program, I mean, obviously they grew to 100 million like anything. But they're still not profitable because the amount of server required to churn out that data and all that. And you can buy it for what? $20, $30? And that's the beauty of today's economy actually. Everything is a service actually. They'll give it to you. You can use it and you can power your own generative AI. All these things are available for you to work on just to do the front end. So what's the art of possible? If you're wondering, I talked about all these things. And tomorrow when I go to office, how do I make it happen? For a very simple thing. I talked about 92,000 crore or 92 crore Indians data by doorstep, by city, by zip code. All this is available and unit link plan and all that. There is a company called Kentrix based out of Bangalore. They do it. You can actually subscribe to that data and they will tell you if you just want to be in Bangalore, target a particular location, pick it up. They'll tell you how to activate it, what needs to be done. By the way, if you are also online as well as in a physical store actually, there is another company called Byzom actually, again a Bangalore-based company actually, beautiful company. They have a SKU of close to 15 lakh different things. They have onboarded 90,000 physical retail companies. They can actually activate your product, make it work, give you a science behind it actually. So one of the beauty of working say with a large, a marketplace like Amazon or Flipkart or anybody else is that in the back end, they'll give you a data which will tell you what sells on Monday, what sells on Tuesday and all that. And that's the beauty of theirs actually, because they're tracking all behaviors actually. They can tell you, don't launch it on Tuesday, do it on Thursday. There's a better way of getting a traction on that. That's the power of understanding your consumer. That's available. Pyzom can work on that actually. Yeah. I talked about Pixies actually. HDFC uses them actually. Nobody talked about that bank. What HDFC realized that what they do, it's a generative AI company actually. If you pick up an ad, they'll turn that ad into some 2 lakh different ad actually. They've grown very fast actually, very, very fast. Now they've launched themselves in US. And we did a small case study with them actually. And the beauty was that that ad will be displayed to you based on your persona, time of the day, which region you live in, which city you live in actually, what kind of a message, what kind of a picture, what kind of color that will be more appealing to you. One ad. And if any one of you are from the ad industry, you couldn't even think actually, one ad will get created, you will display and all that. That's possible today. and you can subscribe to it actually. You can make it work, all these things. Yep. And then we talked about persona, which is a digital persona actually, right? What music you listen to, where you travel because your GPS is on, what kind of a shopping you're doing, what's your brand affinity is. Yep. There is a bag there right here. Michael Lewis. And I had to come here to realize that actually, but all this is available. And this entire thing then can be targeted based on what in-app or what kind of a thing you do that, right? And that's the beauty. All these companies are Indian companies actually. And this is what I wanted to highlight actually. A majority of them will be on your backyard in Bangalore actually. That's what it brings to you. Please adopt. It's being innovative is not the domain of large companies. They are struggling. They're genuinely scared, right? Again, as I said, the small is beautiful. You're not struggling. You can get access to same technology and work and, become any one of them, whether it's Nykaa, whether, any small company. They were one of you guys, actually. They just picked it up, actually. Just in case you want to know how, Spotify did that, actually. I had other example, but I realized that there is a controversy going on, so I'll stick to Spotify. Their ecosystem of startup, just to do recommendation engine, actually, and we plotted all this on our, we have a research team, actually. There are 65 companies they're working on, actually. That only helps them with personalization. And these are all startup, realizing that I can't do that, actually. I need to ask somebody else. Remember, R equal to G, that's what it meant. N equal to 1, I need to know my consumer. Every consumer is unique, actually. R equal to G, I don't need to do it. Just go out and pick it up. This can be done, actually. That's what it is, actually. Now, what happens, actually? So, all these things, how do I bring it home, actually? Why do you need to, socialize with this startup ecosystem and among each other, actually, is that first thing I always tell people is that in this era, where disruption is happening at a fast pace, right? And everyone is looking at it. And even Microsoft had to look at how do I get generative AI, so this entire controversy on, ChatGPT, and they wanted to hire, Sam Altman and all that. You'll realize that it's important for you to build an ecosystem. Why do you need to build an ecosystem? Either you partner with them or you buy from them to power, whatever you are trying to power. In large companies, what they're doing is, and that's what Salesforce talked about, is that they're investing in them, actually. So they buy Tableau. And overnight, they become the best visualization company, actually. Why? Because data is all about visualization. It's not about data. So what do you do when you go back home tomorrow? Understand one thing. The reason I gave these examples, because their behavior is a bit weird, actually. I live in Jakur, and every time I have to announce, we eat together, please come down, we have to play house. Nobody picks up my call, actually. Then on a family chat bot, you'll say, please come down, we are ready. Then all of them will come down, actually. They just don't want to talk, actually. They're very happy chatting, actually. That's the behavior. Do whatever you want to do. That's the consumer. N equal to 1. Please understand them and ensure that you personalize your message and your product for them. Yeah? Delivering unique customer experience. It's everyone's job. It is not just Amazon's job or Flipkart's job or Walmart's job or Tata Digital's job or Spotify's job. It is everyone's job. If you are a consumer company, it's your job to deliver unique consumer experience for your customer. I will never get tired of saying this. Build your innovation ecosystem. Hang out with them, bring it to your office. They're going to give you, or they're going to actually catapult you to things that can give you a competitive advantage. Use it. That's how large incumbent players are genuinely. This is what we do. We work with large banks, we work with, and global, we work with some of the large CPG companies. Their entire DtoC is, or they created a, there's a large Alcobev company actually. They created their entire, consumer engine just collaborating with every startup actually. The entire contents are powered by that. This entire data which I shared it, some of them they are using it actually. Because even they realize that resources are global. You need to use it. Yeah. With this, I'm happy to seek any questions if you have. I know there is a break, so you must be waiting that when do we get up and grab our tea, coffee. Feel free to do that, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I'm around for next 15, 20 minutes, so I'm happy to chat with you guys. Either I did a damn good job or it didn't make sense. Please. Yeah, do give a mic so it gets easier for us to understand what the question is.
Yeah, so this is a very typical question when a business wanted to go to market. So end of the day, we are aware of all these tools. We understand what these tools are doing it. So if I go to selling any product, I have different marketplaces. I have to register there, and there also they're giving the same features, marketing features, campaigning features, with some subscription cost and everything. Similarly, like AI tools for again marketing, like whatever we see, considering like if I go Instagram marketing or WhatsApp marketing, or if I go for Facebook marketing, even end of the day, like a lot of tools, and they're doing the similar jobs. And when I think about a product cost, we are end up that paying with a lot of subscription, a lot of margins towards a product cost. And when we calculate, it's almost going 60 to 70% of the product goes to these kind of activities. And the biggest difficulties and challenges, basically it is a challenge what I'm trying to bring it out, okay? Exploring the tools, understanding the tools, spending on that, waiting for selling, waiting for going to the consumers,
Legend.
all that's creating a 6 to 7 months of, or I can say more than a year target to achieve.
Very good. And a good question.
So there is a challenge. So at the end of the day, like I see a lot of CRM tools. Competitive tools are like Salesforce is there. Like even I can say when I try to browse it, I'm getting Zoho as a option, Gendex as a option. So a lot of other tools are there, and their marketing pitching also the same thing, that they are all AI-driven contents they are giving. They can boost your business. But when we are as a startup, we know that we are a startup and we are going to understand all that. It will give us an experience over the time period. But end of the day, we are not able to compete with the big brands, because big brands are able to pump a lot of money, but we are not here to pump a lot of money to pitch our product as a competitive brand.
Legend.
So how you will going to suggest us in a startup era how to pick all these things, how we can reduce our cost, how we can keep a margin to the product so that we are able to compete with the business.
Fair.
SMEs, and again, one more thing is that we know, understand SMEs are there, but again, like in India nowadays, like every big company is also going to the same business when we are small SMEs trying to get into that.
The market is same, consumer is same. You have your aspiration as big as their aspirations. It's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
Let me, everyone heard the question, and I don't, because I'm a startup founder, so I can understand the operational cost, I can understand the value for money, I can understand the runway to run it. Let me just clarify one thing. It's not your problem. It's a large company problem also. And I can say that because I work with them. I work with some of the large CPG companies. They're Fortune 500 companies, yeah? Same. In fact, they were very proud. Our 85% of budget is now digital. Return of investment, problem, yeah? I'll give you an example of my neighbor, okay? Interesting guy. He used to be the physio for BCCI and realized that I'm going to give this access to every Indian, actually, not just 17, 18 elite player and all that. And he started a very interesting company, Yours Health. And they did digital marketing. And he says, can you help me? I said, and he was my neighbor. I'm an athlete, endurance athlete, so I talk to him quite often and all that. So I started chatting and all that. He says, we did this campaign and all that. And he's got 3 centers in Bangalore. So he says, tell me where the lead is coming from. North Karnataka. I said, okay. So why do you think from Belgaum somebody will realize you can offer and then come here? And a session cost around 1,200 rupees. The cost of traveling there is that. Yeah, I've given an SME example. Let me give a large company example, right? All this feed was happening. Everyone has a TTD account, actually, those who understand, the large media account. And then they were doing Facebook marketing, digital Insta marketing and all that. And then I asked them, so whom are you marketing to? And the question was, well, they decided. So I said, let's just look at data. What data they have, actually? I want, by granular detail, please tell me who this person is, where do they live, what their choices are, what. No, it's inference, actually. And again, I realized that. Remember, I made it very clear. We only work with financial services and CPG because that's what we can give today, actually. We have examples, we can make sense and all that. So all these examples, you'll see DtoC right in our rally. That's what we are trying to do. Please understand, while your aspiration may be very big, but if I were you, and if I want to target where my consumer are, I'll go after micro segments, actually. And I can tell you, none of these big players has micro segment. None of them. Nobody is leaving that kind of a data. That's the reason these guys came in. Those 4 players I talked about, that's the reason they came in actually. You're doing your Facebook feed, please ensure that you pick up from where because these are all integrated with that actually. It'll do a targeted marketing, on Margosa Road to ensure that you're targeting that building, those people, that's what needs to be done actually. Remember, hyper-personalization also means hyper-personalized marketing to the people that's relevant actually. And you have to spend that much of a time actually. These tools, whatever you hear about CRM and all that, are as good as what you make out to be. So it's very easy. I keep getting ad from, because we use, Google Suites and all that. Spend $20,000 and, just talk about OpenAI and all. I don't do that. I know who my consumers are. We work with CEO -1. No way in hell I'll be able to get advertised to them. Majority of our business comes from recommendation. A very high recommendation because we have made a huge difference in all that. I understood that. I stopped marketing. It doesn't work for me. But what marketing doesn't work for you also doesn't work. And I worked with them very closely. For a company which has a turnover of 30,000 crore in India, it doesn't work for them. And that's the reason it's important for you to sit down and understand which are those 150 houses you want to target and how you want to go about them. And you'll have to take the effort to do that. There's no point saying that I'll cover entire Bangalore. Even I can't do that. And this is, I continue to tell all the startup guys, in your product market fit, also ensure that you do a micro segmentation of people you would like to work with. Otherwise, you'll end up burning 9 out of 10 people, smartest of them, don't realize any ROI of digital marketing. It's truth. 90% are failing. So if you're in that category, I'm in that category, it's okay. I'm not 10% actually, I'm not Einstein actually. But what do I do now from here on? How do I go about it? Who are these people? It's important to focus on those actually. Yeah, and I'm happy to chat offline because I've gone through that and I've solved this problem actually.
I have a question here.
Please.
First, a compliment.
It's not about Amazon, right?
No. Might be integrated in the talk.
Okay, got it.
Indirectly. It's a compliment because when you talk about the ROI in terms of digital expenses, it is mostly the geofencing is not done properly, the clustering, target segmenting is not done properly, and when we try to reach masses, no fruits come in. So that's a caution one has to take care. My question is especially with respect to generative AI. It is actually a fantastic innovation, especially for small businesses because the cost of ads creation is very low.
Yeah.
But at the same time, there is a kind of a issue coming in because of the deep fake sort of spaces as well. And there is a human, so there are 2 things. One is the ethical issue, one is the legal issue. Because as a consumer of somebody who's providing an ad with respect to generative AI, we do not know what are the legal aspect, how close it is to the natural, because lots of imitations happens there, cloning happens. With the deep fake, there is a clear-cut issue, but they say that the name itself is a deep fake. And there is a human-technology conflict, right? Like, how do you see a future about it? Because like in the case of art, painting and all that, the generative AI portrait got the first prize, and then there was a conflict among the artist. So it is like a lot of things which is happening, and how the regulations will help the small businesses to ensure that their work is going in the right direction, because digital image and digital reputation management is much more riskier.
No one has the answer, including me. I'm sorry. I say that because I worked very closely with India, the head of security in India. Actually. My background is also security, actually. So I worked very closely with them. This is an issue. I mean, you can influence the entire election, and you're going to see that, actually. Yeah. It's, go back to the old thing. The same knife can cut your vegetables and, kill people, actually. And you're going to experience that with AI. You can't help it. They're trying to create rules, but nobody understands it. Please understand, if you don't remember, 2 years back, Facebook had to shut down their entire AI project because it's started to degenerate and all that. There are very prominent people who have very clearly flagged out is that be very careful. You don't know which day. And you remember those Hollywood movies where AI took over and all that? That's quite possible. Let me also make it very clear, because we track a lot of these technology and work and know where it's going to impact, and we can use it for comparative advantage. Be prepared that it's going to reach its penultimate in next 3 to 5 years, actually. And I'm saying that because I'm seeing what's coming actually, because we're tracking a lot of generative AI startup actually. There are governments who are trying to regulate it, but you got to also understand for, so I used to work for a company called Semantic actually, and someday somebody asked, you guys create virus actually, because I keep buying your, antivirus and all that. And I said, no, we don't. Not that I knew actually. I said, no, we don't actually, but they were always a step ahead of you actually, and then you will create thing, and by the time they're destroyed and all that. That's gonna happen. Why a hacker hacks? Because he can, and there is a power in that. Why somebody create generative AI and deep fake and all that? Because I can. Catch me if you can, right? So there is no answer to it. People are working on it. I know our government is very serious because we work with quite closely as OpenAI with them. Is there a definite answer? No, it's not. Look, I'm a musician actually, so I can say how does it impact actually. You write your own, the entire music sheet and all that, and you write your song, and then you want to render it, and suddenly realize generative AI doing a better job than that, right? But you got to also understand that's a new virtual human being in making actually understands, and I would have heard 20,000 songs. It would have heard some 2 lakh songs actually going to come out with. Okay, I mean, for an example, we work with Alcobe, we know the beer you are getting, it's to your palate now. We are working on a project actually, it's called Digital Tongue actually, that it will create whiskey, and I'm not kidding, guys, I'm not kidding. It will create a whiskey based on your taste. It's called sensory AI actually. It will be based on the region. Karnataka, we like our Anna Sambar and all that. West Bengal is different, and then Bihar it is different because the same whiskey used to be given. Now it has gone to that level. You want to stop it? No, because that's what people are expecting actually. So there is no right and wrong. There's always be ethics, okay, and human being, we have a moral society and all that, so these things happen. But I'm sorry, I can't answer this because there's no answer to it actually. Everyone is trying to grapple with this.
I think the responsible innovation is the word which we need to associate with the innovations.
Yeah, can say.
That's very important.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you. Please, I realize that we must have run out of time actually. Thank you very much, really appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me.